everyone, and welcome to the NEA Big Read virtual story time with Miss Julia. That's me. And today we will be reading A Map into the World by Kao Kalia Yang and illustrated by Seo Kim. And we have permission from Carolrhoda Books, an imprint of the Lerner Publishing Group, to read this. So this is a part of our NEA Big Read series that you might have seen on our calendar for April. The NEA helps us support the arts, and so this is a culmination of many libraries in our area. So I encourage you to take a part of this, and we have a craft that we're doing this week that you'll see at the end of this video. And then we also have coloring pages that will be put out, and there's also a virtual author event at the end of next week on Friday. So keep an eye out for that, and if you would need help registering, please don't hesitate to give us a call or stop in. Okay, so let's go ahead and read A Map into the World. The first time we saw the swing and the slide in the garden of the greenhouse with the big windows, my mother sat down in a chair in the backyard and said she did not want to get up. Tai and I looked at the garden, and she pointed out tomatoes, green beans, and a watermelon round as my mother's belly. Tai knelt down to touch the dirt. I asked my mother if I could try the swing, and she said, "Yes, Bandao." The greenhouse became our house. I helped Tai hang the special story cloth about how the Hmong got to America on the empty wall by the big window of the living room. We saw an old man and woman wave through the window. They waved. I waved back. Later, my mother and father brought me across the street. The old man's name was Bob, and the old woman's name was Ruth. Up close, I could see that they were even older than Tai. So Tai is her grandmother, and that's the Hmong word for grandmother. Tai and I were in the garden picking tomatoes and beans and checking on the watermelon when my parents brought my baby brother home from the hospital. I ran to the gate. The boys were smaller than my baby dolls, but cuter than any doll, with their fuzzy heads and red lips and round brown eyes. Some days, the babies cried very loud. I covered my ears with my hands and asked my father to take me outside. Bob and Ruth sat on their special bench. We waved back and forth. So there are her twin baby brothers, and over here you can see that Bob and Ruth are waving from across the street. The leaves of the two ginkgo trees by Bob and Ruth's house turned yellow like apricots. One day, a brisk wind blew, and the fan-shaped leaves came flying down. They covered the grass in the street and the dark mouth of the drain. Bob raked, while Ruth sat and watched. I brought in a leaf for the babies to touch, but my mother said, "They're still too little, Bandao." So it looks like it's becoming fall, right? Because the leaves are changing. The snow made the world quiet around us. We stopped seeing Bob and Ruth outside. The snowflakes fell on their driveway and glittered in the gray light. I made a ball of snow for my brothers, but it melted before they woke up from their nap. At night, I looked out our big window at Bob and Ruth's house to see their lights shining across the dark street. Sometimes I saw a shape of a person looking back at me. I waved, but the shadow person never waved back. So we changed to another season, which is winter. On a cold morning, cars came to our block, filling the street. Car doors slammed as men and women in thick jackets walked quickly to Bob and Ruth's house. My father said, "Ruth has died. Her family is coming to say goodbye." I felt sad for Ruth. My brothers just played with the toys above them. The cars kept coming and going the next day and the next. I swayed back and forth on my toes by the big window. I tried to lift up one of my brothers so the people could see how cute he was, but he cried and my brother said, "You're still too little to carry him, Bandao." After the Hmong New Year, my baby brothers learned how to sit on their own, and we all sat looking out the window together. I clapped for them when a plane flew across the high skies. They laughed every time. The house across the street looked empty. The ginkgo trees reached for the sky with their thin fingers. There you can see the plane. When the snow started melting, I could not wait to return to the swing and the slide in the garden. My baby brothers crawled all over the floor, underneath the table and the chairs. They were like puppies, their tongues licking everything. I found the first worm of spring on the sidewalk and named her Annette. I wanted to bring her inside so my brothers could watch her wiggle, but my mother said, "I don't think so, Bandao." Do you guys like to pick up worms? I don't know. They're pretty wiggly if you can get them. The world became green again, and finally we all went outside. Tai planted green onions. I picked flowers from the lilac bushes for my brothers to smell. They opened their mouths and tried to eat them. My mother said, "Don't let them eat the flowers, Bandao." We took the babies outside again. The next day after lunch, Bob's garage door opened, and we all watched as he pushed out his special bench. He sat down alone. I pulled on my mother's sleeve until she looked at me. I whispered an idea in her ear. What do you think it could be? My mother and I crossed the street and walked over to Bob. I let the sidewalk chalk bucket swing in my hands. I asked my mother to ask Bob if I could draw on his driveway. I said, "If he doesn't like it, the rain will come and wash it away." Bob nodded and said, "Go ahead." What do you think she's going to draw? I'll give you a hint. It's in the title, if you can remember what the title is. My mother and Bob talked in low voices. I could hear Bob say, "Ruth, she was with me for 60 years. I started my picture with a teardrop, and then I made it splatter like sunshine. I drew lines leading away from the splattered sun in many directions." I drew a line that led to the garden. There I put a yellow ginkgo leaf. I drew a line that led to the grass. There I made the sparkling snow. I drew a line to the sidewalk. There I put a smiling worm named Annette. I drew an arrow to our house. There I added lilac flowers. And then I drew a line, the biggest line of all, toward the street, and there I drew the whole world. When I was done, I walked quietly to my mother and to Bob. They stopped talking, and Bob shook my hand. "What did you draw for me?" he asked. I said in a whisper, "A map into the world, just in case you need it." Bob said, "I think I might." So there you can see all the drawings that she made of the world for Bob, her neighbor. The end. So why do you guys think that Bandao drew a map into the world for Bob? Do you think Bob might have been feeling just a little bit lonely after his wife was no longer able to be with him? I think so, and I think that's why she drew the map, so he felt just a little less lonely, right? And I think that was a really nice thing for her to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed the story, and don't forget to attend the author event on Friday, where she'll speak about this book and also do another reading of it. So make sure you tune into that. And that's all I have for you today, but I'm happy you guys could come and listen, and stick around to watch the craft tutorial. And if you haven't picked up your craft, that's okay. Just come on into the library and you can watch it at a later date to learn how to make the craft. There are also paper instructions available if that works better for you. Thanks for listening. Bye. Today we were going to be making this map pendant. So this is the craft that goes along with our NEA Big Read book, A Map into the World. So what you're going to need are your 2 starting pieces, which will be provided for you in your craft kit. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to glue this piece onto this piece. So you're going to take your glue. It can be either, Elmer's glue or a glue stick, whichever you prefer. And you're going to just put glue on here, around the edge, and in the middle, so this sticks on it. So when you put this on, you're going to want to match up the 2 hole punches, because that's where your string will go. So you're going to glue that, you're going to press it on there, just like so. You don't need to use too much, just enough so that it sticks. Okay, next you're going to need your string. So you're going to have a piece of string that is pre-cut, like this. And then you're going to take it and you're going to measure how much you're going to need around your map pendant. So as you can see, this is the map of Jefferson. So you're going to measure it, and then you're going to take it and you're going ahead and cut it. Then you're going to take your glue again, and you're going to go around the very, very edge, because you don't want to cover up too much of the map, because that's where all the fun stuff is, right? So you put it around the edge here, all the way around, and if you make a little bit of a mess, that's okay. We can clean up the glue. And then you're going to take your piece of string that you measured out, and you're going to put it on there, and you're going to make sure it sticks nice. Get it towards the edge so you don't see any of the other part of the paper that you glued onto. Just try your best, and if you see a bunch of glue, it's okay, it'll dry. And if you didn't measure out quite right like me, that's okay. Just take your scissors and cut it and match those 2 ends right there. Okay, so then you're going to just adjust that, and then you're going to let that sit and dry for just a minute before you take your second piece of string, which will be measured out so it's long enough for you to wear. And this part is a little bit tricky. So you're going to take it and you're going to match the 2 loose ends together, and then you're going to take the looped end right here. Going to twist it so you can get it through this hole. I'm going to do that. And then you're going to take the loop, open it up, and you're going to take your 2 loose ends and you're going to put it through that loop so it attaches tight onto your map pendant, the pendant part of it. Okay, and then you're going to tie this so then you can wear it as a necklace, or you can, hang it up somewhere that you can see, and there you go. You have your map pendant.